Welcome in, everybody, to our video podcast series where we connect you to D&H experts on new and emerging trends in the industry to help you stay competitive. My name's Brian Keilen, and I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by Chris Phillips. How you
Hey,
doing?
Brian, how's it going?
Not
Doing
too
pretty
bad.
good.
Not too bad. So today we're going to be talking about AI PCs and endpoint devices. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I hope everyone else is excited too. This is going to be a lot of fun.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So before we roll into it, just want to hear from you, Chris. What was the last AI device you used, and how did you
Uh,
use it?
it, that's a deep question. There's multiple ones because like almost everything we use now is an AI device, and we'll kind of talk about this as we go here. Like the PC in front of me can technically be called an AI device, but I would say the last thing I've used of any substance is about 4 or 5 months ago. I wanted to run a specific language model for C++. Basically, it's a language model that helps you learn how to code and then walks you through basic code and will debug for you, things of that nature. So I built a system to do that, and that's kind of the last system I've been using on a regular basis as I'm trying to expand my knowledge base to a little bit further. So that'd be the last one I've used.
Okay. Yeah, you're talking about like large language models, things like that, uh, which is great for AI devices. We recently actually polled our partners about a range of topics on AI solutions, including the common concerns they're hearing from their clients about adopting solutions. Uh, so one of the big ones, or probably the biggest one, I think, was 31% said data security concerns. The next biggest was 21% said that the costs outweigh the benefits. So really,
Mhm.
trying to like translate, here's what
Right.
the benefits you're going to see if you,
Investing.
you invest in
Yeah.
and adopt AI solutions. Uh, One of the biggest areas is obviously the AI PC market. AI PCs have been out for about a year now,
Yeah.
but we're also starting to see kind of a new class of products, you might want to say, Copilot Plus PCs. Tell me a little bit, what's the difference between just an AI PC and a Copilot Plus PC?
Uh, and it's really interesting you bring up that poll that you talked about earlier, and they said cost was one of the major impacts of whether they would want to adopt an AI PC or a PC that ran AI processes. And I kind of understand that, but that dynamic has shifted a little bit, and we can kind of talk about that through what is the difference between the AI PC and a Copilot Plus PC, because those are really two different devices in
Okay.
the end of things. The AI PCs, which have been out for a while now, are a specific PC that is built to run a AI process that is known. Like, for example, that large language model that I use for C++ programming. Um, I knew the exact spec I needed to run the language model. It's a 16 billion parameter language model, which is fairly large. So you need a decent graphics card because that's what the language model runs on. So you need something with about 12 to 16 gigabytes of memory on board the graphics card to be able to execute that language model properly. So I built a PC that had the card I needed to be able to execute that language model. Then I installed all the software I would need onto that system to run that language model. And then at that point, that PC became not just a normal PC with a graphics card, it became an AI PC. So that's kind of what an AI PC is. Like you take the sum of the parts and design it specifically for an AI process. These new Copilot Plus PCs are different. From the cost perspective, they're no different really than any of the other PCs that we currently see on the market. And what these Copilot Plus PCs are PCs that have hardware uh, installed on every single one of them. It's guaranteed to be there because it's more of a spec recommendation than anything else. The spec recommendation is AI processors, the NPUs, being on board with at least 40 tops. And if it has that, then it becomes a Copilot Plus PC. And these Copilot Plus PCs are set up to just have that spec. So software developers can now develop AI processes knowing that that is going to be there for them.
Okay, so you were saying that AI PC, you're building it for a specific AI function.
Mhm.
What is the purpose of a Copilot Plus PC? What is kind of the use case for that then?
The use case for a Copilot Plus PC is like, hey, I want to get a PC that I know can run AI processes in the future, but I have no idea what they might be. I don't know what the software developers for the software I use, what AI processes they're going to develop and start to integrate into their software. But when they get that integration into their software, I want to make sure I can have a PC that can take advantage of it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be needing a Copilot Plus PC because they know what is there and they can develop their processes for that. So that's kind of the difference is like, hey, I want to be ready for the future. Go grab a Copilot Plus PC because getting an AI PC that's built for a spec that people can develop for.
Okay. You're talking about the future and getting ready for the future. What are some of the kind of like the features of like Copilot Plus PCs like enable like currently?
Sure. So right now, there's a couple features that are enabled just on the OS level. So a Copilot Plus PC from an OS perspective is Windows 11 Pro plus a couple of AI features. AI features like Recall, which, if you don't know, Recall is a feature that allows you to basically do a search of the entire history of that computer as long as Recall has been on. And we've had search in our computers for a while. Like, hey, I only type in this file or whatever, and it'll search the PC and find the file. But what if you were looking on a web page and you saw something that you wanted, but then that tab got closed and you can never find your way back to that web page? Recall will be able to look back in the history, be able to use AI to figure out what you're talking about. Like, hey, I was on a web page that had red sneakers and I want to be able to find it. Recall is going to be able to go back through time, look at all the little snapshots they've grabbed, and then be able to find that web page you're on and bring it up back up for you. Or if you had an instance where you had two documents side by side and you've lost one of them, you go, hey, Tuesday I was working on two documents side by side. Can you pull that back up? And it will pull those documents back up for you. At least be able to pull you up a screenshot, tell you the file name so you can go find the file you're missing. So Recall is a great search tool. They've really did a great job of also managing the privacy concerns for Recall, allowing you to control when Recall is looking at things and when it's not. You can turn it off for specific pieces of software. I have it turned off for Teams. I don't want Recall looking at my Teams messages, but you can turn it off very granularly or at a system level. You can go, hey, every day after 5 o'clock, just turn it off. I don't need you after work hours. I don't need you looking at my bank statements or whatever, whatever it be. So you can really customize it there. Another great feature that Copilot Plus CCs have now that I use pretty regularly um, is a feature called Live Translate, which we've had translation forever. I mean, you can pick a piece of uh, text from a different language, go into Bing, have it translate it, done. But what Live Translate does is it will kind of take that to the next level where if you have a video where there's someone who's speaking English and then a new speaker comes on and they're speaking in a different language. Even if you don't know that language, Live Translate will determine the language and then translate it into English subtitles. So it just you can kind of keep on going. And if a different speaker comes in, speaks in a different language than the first speaker, like if the first speaker was Spanish and the second speaker was French, it will continue to just switch languages, translating it to English, making it very fluid. Where this kind of really opens up some magic is if you're on a Teams call with someone else and they are a native Spanish speaker and you're a native English speaker, and if I speak English to that person and they have that same feature turned on, my speech automatically gets translated from English to Spanish. They talk back to me, automatically translated from Spanish to English, and we can have a semi-real conversation with them in real time without have to go back and forth through emails or some kind of text translator. It's a great experience. So
Yeah, you're like just smoothing off the process. Like you said, you don't have to go through like, oh, I'm going to send you an email, then I'm going to put that email into like some sort of translation thing or anything like that. You just have that meeting, hear what they're saying. Okay, I mean, that's
yeah,
super interesting. Um, okay, what are some of the kind of manufacturers that are meeting this spec for Copilot Plus PCs right now?
that's a great question because it's really a twofold question. So you have the processors. Oh, excuse me, the processor manufacturers that are creating the processors that enable those AI PCs. Then you have the OEMs that are creating the devices around them. For the processor side, we're seeing the big names. Intel's got their Core Ultra 2 series that are now the Lunar Lake series that are now running Copilot Plus. They have up to 36 tops that meet the Copilot Plus requirement. So those Copilot Plus PCs are starting to land. AMD has their Kraken series coming. It's their Ryzen AI 300 series. We're start to see those in a couple months. Same deal. had the NPU on board, ready to go to run Copilot Plus PCs. Qualcomm has been in the market now since October with their Copilot Plus PCs. They're a little bit different in that uh, Intel and AMD are running off of the traditional x86 architecture, the
Mm.
architecture that pretty much all of our computers are running on off of today. Qualcomm's devices are running off the ARM architecture, which is more similar to what we see on our tablets and our smartphones. Um, the good thing about those Qualcomm processors is they, much like our phones and tablets, run at a very low power draw. So battery life on them are significantly better in some cases than their x86 counterparts. But there's some other challenges that need to be met. But it also does have that NPU to enable those AI devices.
Okay, yeah. So let's say that you're a partner out there, you're talking with your
Mhm.
clients about maybe like upgrading your devices, and you've got given us a lot to think about in
Yeah.
terms of Copilot Plus PCs, or do we want to like build or a specific function with an AI PC? What are some kind of considerations that, if they've determined like, okay, I want this particular type of PC, this is the function that I'm going to use it for. When I'm actually deploying that with my company, what are some of the things that they need to keep in mind or think about?
Right. So that first thing you talked about, whether they have a specific process in mind or not, is kind of the first question. Do you have a language model that you're specifically looking to run, or you have an AI process that exists now that you're looking to run, and you know the hardware recommendations for it? If the answer to that is yes, build out an AI PC to meet those specifications. That's easier, the easiest process to do. If you're looking to make sure the devices you're purchasing uh, are able to run AI processes now and all the new AI advancements that are coming in the future, then you're looking at the Copilot Plus PCs because they're kind of more of a jack of all trades type thing. Uh, the things to consider at that point are, hey, how am I going to manage the AI features on the device? And if you have something like Microsoft Intune, you can manage the AI processes similar to how you would manage the devices as they are today. You can have it turn on and off specific AI processes and make sure that all of these things fall within your company's security guidelines. If you're looking to deploy one of the Qualcomm devices, the ARM architecture devices, there's an extra step because the uh, Intel and AMD devices are all, like I said, all running off of x86. So all our current software gonna run fine, just gonna run like a normal computer to them. Easy deployment, nothing to worry about there. With the Qualcomm devices on the ARM side, um, they're able to run x86 software, but they do it through something called emulation. It's something we've seen in computers for a while now, but I think they've really nailed it with the Copilot Plus PCs and the current Qualcomm uh, CPUs on the market. The emulation's actually pretty darn good. I've been using this specific Dell device for a while. It's got the Qualcomm Snapdragon chip in it. It's running a lot of my software through that x86 emulation player, and I can't tell.
Okay.
It just runs as normal. And if I handed this device to someone else, they wouldn't be able to tell that some of my x86 software is actually being emulated. The problem might be if you have like a very specific use case x86 software that was like specifically designed for your company. You might want to grab a couple of these devices if you're interested in like the battery life increases, the low power increases, the more mobile ability you can have with the Qualcomm devices. You might want to make sure that that emulation layer is not going to mess with that piece of software. And if it does, then you're kind of good to go and roll out. But if you can't, then obviously there's other options from Intel and AMD.
For sure. Okay. And up to this point, the devices that we've been talking about have been kind of, just like your PC,
Yeah.
your work computer, you're working on it, but that's not all that AI devices are, correct? There are
Right.
actually a lot of things out there that, yeah, go beyond that.
Yeah, there's a ton of devices, and we're talking past the Copilot Plus PCs from Microsoft and HP and Dell and Asus. There's also AI devices like the Optra devices from Lexmark that is essentially a small AI device that sits on the network and looks at sensors that exist on the network. And when I talk about a sensor could be anything like a microphone, a humidity sensor, temperature sensor, or most importantly, a camera. Camera is
Sure.
basically the image sensor as well. And what you can do with that Optra box is you can teach it skills. And one of my best examples is You can teach Optra a skill to look at a camera, and then it will look at people and it go, "Hey, I'm looking for people to have hard hats on. I'm running a construction site, and everyone that is on my site needs to be wearing a hard hat." So I point a camera at it. Optra's looking at that camera, and it's looking for people that do not have a hard hat on because I need one to be in safety regulations. And if it sees someone that doesn't have a hard hat on, it can then send an alert to a manager that's out on the work site to going, "Hey, you've got workers out there without hard hats on.
We got a problem
We got a
there.
problem." You can also use it for things like inventory management. You can point it at a shelf in a store, and as people take inventory from that shelf, it can start to alert you going inventory low, out of inventory on specific pieces of product. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of great skills you can teach it. There's kind of really low barrier to entry in terms of knowledge as well. It's really easy to set up in a lot of cases. So that's a great one that I would have people look into. There's other devices from manufacturers that we would expect from like Logitech. They've got great UC devices and great even peripheral devices that have started to integrate AI into them as well. And it's great to kind of start to see these uh, the peripheral manufacturers start to rename some of their things that were kind of AI 5 years ago into AI processes now. Because AI probably 5 years ago was a little bit more scary. Nowadays, it's not so scary. But if you look at something like Right Sight 2 that's enabled on the Rally bars for the Logitech side of things, it's able to look at both of us as we speak. And if I'm speaking, it will focus the camera directly on me. So from the team's point of view, it looks like I'm the one that's the only person in the room speaking. And if you were to start to speak, it would intelligently
Yep.
shift it over to you. Another great thing it's able to do is if, we're both in a meeting room and we're talking to people on Teams, if we enable the right features through Teams and RightSight, we can have our names show up right underneath us like they would in any normal Teams call. It's a great way if you've got a bunch of people in a conference room and you want to be able to have them all labeled so people that are on the other end can know who's in there. It's a great way to do it. And it'll also show that I'm in that conference even though I'm in a room. So it's a great little feature there. And then there's just little things that the Logitech devices can do, like the keyboards and mice start to have a little button that's mapped to bringing up an AI prompt where you can highlight text and have it grammar and spell check. You can have it generate new text and things of that nature, but it's built directly into the workflow of the keyboard and mouse, which is it's nice to see.
Absolutely, yeah. So seems like a lot of exciting possibilities out there. So getting close to wrap up here. My, I guess my last big question for you, Chris, is businesses considering any of these AI devices, whatever they may be, uh, how can they start measuring the success of integrating those AI devices?
The main thing is just talking to the people that are using those devices and seeing what their feeling is are at it right now. Um, there's going to be certain subsections of workers that are probably going to experience more benefit gains from AI devices right now than others. If you're doing work processing or data analysis, there's a lot of great AI features out there to help with those types of tasks. But maybe less so for programming or video editing or photo editing, things of that nature. Unless you're dealing with someone that has that process built directly in, they might not see the full benefit yet. So communication is kind of the best way to measure that impact, and then also just uh, adjusting their workflows to enable or to integrate those AI workflows into their normal day-to-day process. Um, that might require some training, but once you start to do that, you're going to start to see that productivity start to take off, and that's kind of what we're all here to do with these AI devices. It's to make the mundane task more less repetitive, more easier to do, so we can get to actually the meat and potatoes of our work.
Sure, yeah. So just kind of keep an open mind, see what you can accomplish with it, and see how it kind of best suits your work style. Is kind of okay, great. Well, thanks for joining me today, Chris. How can partners get a hold of you after watching the video?
The best way to get a hold of me would be to reach out to me and the team at techsolutions@dnh.com. You'll get a hold of me and any of our technical experts. We can help you out with any questions around AI PCs, Copilot Plus PCs, or any other questions you might have on things like networking, data center, Pro AV, things of that nature. We can help you do bill of materials, things of that nature. Just a great resource that are available to all of our D&H resellers. You can also get a hold of me on LinkedIn. Just search my name on LinkedIn. I've got a bunch of D&H content up there, so you'll know when you found me.
Yeah, you'll find him. And thanks for joining us, everybody. For more information and everything Go Big AI from D&H, you can visit our website at www.dnh.com/GoBigAI. You're going to find all kinds of great resources on there, including live and on-demand webinars, campaign kits, a whole wealth of resources. So thanks for joining us today, and thanks for being here, Chris.
No problem. Thank you.